Welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guest on this next interview. Now, the curtain has fallen on the 2026 Winter Olympics, leaving behind unforgettable performances, regional pride, and even a few unexpected pop culture moments. From Poland's medal hopes to surprises in ski jumping, and from the podium to viral stories involving pop icons, these games had it all. Now, joining us today on TVP World to sum up Poland and the region's performance is Jon Carter, sports reporter from TVP World. Hello.
Evening, Ben.
So, Jon, you've been following the Olympics very closely, and I'm hoping to get a little bit of roundup from you. When it comes to Poland, how would you assess they did overall?
Well, I would say actually they even did slightly better than expected. Speaking to a lot of different people, they're a little bit underwhelmed by Polish performance, maybe those who are not following winter sports so closely. And, they come to the conclusion that Poland, look at the size of its economy, 4 medals. So just for context, Poland won 3 silvers and a bronze. And there's a lot of talk that maybe they should have done better. But I think it's worth bearing in mind that actually this was their 3rd best ever Winter Olympics. So only behind 2010 and 2014. So it was a fairly decent performance, especially when we bear in mind that that early 2010s period was very much seen as the golden era of winter sports for Poland. So, success in the ski jumping, in particular, of course, Kasper Tomasiak, who was largely responsible for the medal haul. He won 3 medals, and of course Vladimir Semeruni in the speed skating. So I would say that overall it was very interesting because a lot of the kind of pre-event talk had been about, wow, could Poland really succeed in the speed skating? Got a really kind of stacked squad and a lot of medal hopes, but actually they fell a little bit short. So in that respect, it was rather underwhelming. However, nobody really fancied Poland to do well in the ski jumping, which was a real turn-up. Of course, this is where Poland has its strongest traditions in winter sport, very much from the days of Małysz in the 2000s and many others into the 2010s. But so it was interesting to see ski jumping make a little bit of a comeback, really thanks to the 19-year-old Kasper Tomasiak, who picked up 2 silvers and a bronze and really came from nowhere. It was a remarkable achievement.
Do you think this is going to revitalize the popularity of winter sports within Poland? I
certainly think it's going to rekindle the interest of ski jumping, which, although still remains Poland's most popular, most watched kind of winter sport, interest has started to dwindle because Poland hadn't been finding much success in the last sort of 6-8 years or so, and it really been going downhill a lot. Kamil Stoch, the most successful ever ski jumper in Poland, his Olympic career came to a close at this Olympics, and I think people generally thought, well, Kasper Tomasiak, he's a hope for the future, but he's just a teenager. This won't be his games. And now we can see, actually, Kasper Tomasiak is very much a man for the here and now. And I think this is going to really rekindle the popularity in ski jumping. It's perhaps a little bit of a shame for speed skating, which many had thought it could, take the crown as Poland's most popular winter sport. But I think as it stands, ski jumping remains firmly the most popular. Elsewhere, I can't imagine many other sports igniting much interest because there wasn't a great deal of success in those other sports. It really takes a medal to kind of, gain that true popularity to get things moving.
Right. You mentioned that even though Poland only took home 4 medals, it's actually pretty good compared to previous years. It's like the 3rd best they've ever done in the Winter Olympics. One of the things I've been reading about is also the fact that Poland being one of the only 15 countries that has always been able to take home a medal during the Winter Olympics. What do you think contributed to the consistency but relatively lack of breakout successes when it comes to Polish winter sports?
Yeah, well, I suppose, more than anything, you have to look at Just basic factors. Poland is not a country which is covered by mountains a great deal. I think it's 90% flat land. So, the very basics itself are that countries such as Czech and Slovakia, obviously much smaller and smaller economies, but a lot more mountainous. And that you have to think about what the knock-on effect of that is. Well, that means more people living in those regions, more sort of tourism for those things, and therefore more investment in the kind of winter sport infrastructure. And, Poland, at least the kind of government, would have to make a very bold kind of step to kind of throw themselves into something like that. To put it this way, they invested 8 million euros in 2025 for the Winter Olympic preparation. Not bad, but fairly modest investment, I would say. So I think that, in reality, it's kind of par for the course. And, expecting a lot more from Polish athletes, I think it might be a little bit unfair. However, I did give it a little bit of thought, and I think there is some scope for improvement. In particular, maybe we'll talk about later Claudia Adamek and that example of transferring those with the skills in the summer Olympics, potentially moving over into the Winter Olympics and using those athletic attributes in other ways.
Right. Actually, let's get a little bit into that because, like I mentioned, she's an athlete that has participated in multiple different fields and does seem to mix pretty well.
Yeah, so she competed at the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, and where she was part of the 4x100 relay team. And so I think, she kind of came to the conclusion here. Let's be honest, she was a fairly average sprinter, obviously in the grand scheme of things within Poland. She's hugely impressive sprinter, but on the global stage, she's never really going to make a mark. But by moving into bobsleigh, as she did, I think, there's a lot of scope for it because, fundamentally, things like the kind of sliding sports, what have you got? Bobsleigh, luge, skeleton. These are sports which fundamentally require that super quick start. It's really critical to those sports. And with having that super powerful sprint start, a sprinter like Adamek, her skills, it really lends it transferable skills within that. So I wonder if perhaps some other sprinters might also look across at the example of Adamek, who became the first ever Pole to represent the country in both Summer and Winter Olympics, and think, hold on, maybe, in the off season, I could also explore those avenues and potentially find success in that way. Because as I said, Poland has a kind of almost natural cap on what it can do given its infrastructure and its relative lack of mountains. And until this winter, let's say as well, relative lack of snow as well.
Right. And last but not least, we do have a little bit of time left, and I want to ask you about this because recently I saw pictures of the rapper Snoop Dogg with this Polish pierogi, and it seems to have stemmed from the Winter Olympics as well. What's the lore behind it?
Honestly, I've no idea, actually. Of all the sport I've been following, Ben, American rappers holding up Polish dumplings, it wasn't actually part of it. I was aware that it happened, but, let's be honest, Snoop Dogg will... He's let's just say he's quite glad to promote various things. If you suggest, Snoop, do you support this football team? Hell yeah. Snoop, could you hold up a pirog? Certainly. So I could be wrong, and I could be doing Snoop Dogg a massive disservice. It might be a huge pierogi with meat or potato or mushroom and cabbage fan, but I rather suspect that he was just asked by someone, could you hold up a toy dumpling? And he did. I know it kind of went viral and then caused the sale of these kind of toy dumplings elsewhere. And that became a big thing. So, let's just say the manufacturers of said toy have, owe Snoop a bit of gratitude for that.
All right. Thank you so much for covering the Winter Olympics with all of your reports throughout these days. But appreciate it. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Cheers. And thank you for tuning into this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.